So before this tier list starts, I want to say this is purely my opinion. You don't have to agree. I just want to share my thoughts and opinion on how this season has turned out. So yeah, let's get started right away. So to start this tier list off, the worst character in the game has to be Technical Dobby. Dobby has absolutely no mobility options whatsoever and is easily overwhelmed by any pressure pulled onto him. So if you're left by your teammates and left to fight by yourself, you're pretty much dead, as all the pressure pulled onto him makes it so you can't escape, and his abilities don't really help him out in offensive ways either way. His projectile does auto track, but is easily avoidable with your opponent rolling, so basically makes his projectile basically useless. His beta is a good way of finishing people off and counters most grabs such as Strike Dobby and Strike Shigaraki. And his gamma has to be his best ability because of the ability to cover yourself up in a circle of flames. So it protects you from projectiles and does damage around the flames. So the only big downside of this ability is that it has absolutely no armor. So if you're hit while mid-animation, it will consume your gamma ability, leaving you vulnerable until it recharges. His self-res is also rather wonky, as sometimes if you're hit mid-animation, the flames will go off, but you will not get back up. In this rapid heavy season, Tech Dobby just cannot keep up. Until he gets armor on moves, more damage on his abilities, and more mobility, he will stay as the worst character in the game. The second character on this tier list is Kirishima. Kirishima has 400 HP, making it so he can stay alive longer than almost all the characters in the game. Add that to his hardening ability, it should make him an unstoppable force. So why is he so low on this list? I'll tell you why. It's cause his hardening can't counter bro has more armor on his regular abilities than in his hardening mode. Back in the earlier seasons, he could tank more damage in almost all character abilities. This season, if you sneeze on him, he gets knocked out of his hardening ability. Dobby Trap, Red Deku Alpha, AFO Grab, abilities that make you float, and any ability that causes a hard knockdown. You just can't catch a break, man. His level 1 abilities are very mediocre, and his only threat when he reaches level 4, he can do massive damage at level 9, if you can survive that long. He has okay mobility like his alpha that gives him more vertical movement, and his beta that gives him more horizontal mobility, so you can climb structures if you're into that type of thing. All his regular abilities have armor, so he has that going for him. But if he only really is a threat up close, so just give yourself distance when fighting him, and he becomes rather useless, as projectile characters can just melt him away. Add that to rapid characters just flying all over the place. What is a poor Kirishima supposed to do? Some things that can make him more viable are giving him a third alpha at an earlier level, because he only gets his third alpha at level 9, so yeah, he has to sacrifice his level pass if you want to make his beta and gamma stronger. So he could also fix his hardening ability, so he doesn't get knocked out of it as easy. And just maybe I might be giving him a little too much, but give him a second gamma at level 9. It doesn't sound that bad. Hopefully season 8 gives Kirishima a glow up so more people can play him, as I actually like playing Kirishima a lot, but it's not fun playing him right now in this rapid heavy season. Moving up the tier list at C tier, we have Strike Shigaraki. Strike Shigaraki used to be a menace in the earlier seasons. He controlled the ground with his alpha and beta, making it so you couldn't sneak up on him. He could do so much damage at level 9. His only downside was that he couldn't hit people above him with his alpha, as it couldn't go up walls. He later got a buff which made it so he could make his alpha go up walls, but lowered his overall damage with this buff. His special action is rather useless it does do some damage and can destroy structures in one hit. So what makes him so bad? He is very, very level up dependent. At level 1, he has no range and almost no damage. He also has little to no movement, as his gamma gives him some horizontal movement, but that's basically all he has. He is also overwhelmed by people hitting him from above. So characters like Ochako, Rapid Toga, Rapid Bakugo heavily counter him. His character archetype is very fun and creative. It just doesn't work in a game like this where there's characters flying all over the place. I don't play much Strike Shigaraki. He is very fun, but I don't really know what you would give him to make him more viable in this current meta of the game. So let me know in the comments what you would give him, as I can't really figure out what you would give him, as his whole character archetype is fun, creative, and I just can't figure out what you would give him so he wouldn't be too overpowered, just right. So let me know in the comments. Next up is Strike Bakugo. So the people at Bandai wanted to make Bakugo more lower accurate. So what did they do? They killed him this season. His alpha damage got heavily nerfed. It was his main ability that made him strong, and now he is hitting people for less than 90 damage at level 9. So that basically destroyed his whole character, as he has to rely on grenades now as his primary damage. Buffed his gamma, but what is the point of that? You buff his gamma, but you nerf his main ability. So you're saying now that we gotta rely on his grenades and gamma for his damage, while people like Strike Deku have heavily rely on his alpha, where he does 100 per hit. And now you're saying that we gotta rely on grenades with Strike Bakugo, but we can't rely on our alpha now. It just makes no sense. He really had no reason to be nerfed, as he was perfectly fine, but they buffed Rapid Bakugo? For what? There's really no reason to play Strike Bakugo now, as Rapid Bakugo is the better character. People at Bandai knew what they were doing by nerfing Strike Bakugo. He was really fun. He was one of my mains this whole time I was playing My Hero. He's just so much fun, using his special actions to get high ground. He was just the overall character in My Hero Ultra Rumble. He was basically the base character, and they're taking that away. First they did it with Assault Deku, and now they're doing it to Strike Bakugo. Hopefully next season they will bring him back, but I heavily doubt it. And that's why Strike Bakugo is all the way down at C tier now, where I previously had him as a high tier character. This just goes to show what nerfing a character's main ability does to their overall character. Finishing up C tier, we have Assault Deku. Assault Deku was killed last season, but there was still hope that this season the devs would buff him back to the way he was. Sadly, that was not the case, and that is why he will stay at a low C tier. Those who are new to the game, what I mean by this was previously Assault Deku had way more damage on his alpha, just like Strike Bakugo. But they took that away from him and they refused to give it back. They keep buffing the wrong Deku, Strike Deku. Strike Deku continues to receive no nerfs, and it will continue to hit all of us for more than 220 on 2 alpha hits. How much fun. Strike Deku will keep doing this to us, while Assault Deku could barely hit us for 80 damage now at level 9. Assault Deku's overall skill kit is still good, his beta having armor and good damage, while also giving him some movement options. His Gamma Black Web also is a good movement option, and grabbing people if you're into that type of things. The only downside to his Gamma is that you gotta sacrifice 9 level up cards just for it to give you 2 Black Whips. There's just no reason to play Assault Deku right now, while Strike Deku has more damage, more uses in his kit. So that's why Assault Deku will continue to be C tier until he gets his alpha damage back. Now to start out B tier, the good characters now. And to start that off, we have Muriel. Muriel last season was a highly chosen character because of his damage and mobility. He was a lot of fun, so what did they do to him this season? They took away his combos. He can no longer combo beta into 3 alphas, as now you can only hit enemies with 1 alpha now. This heavily reduces his damage potential and makes it so he is now a one-trick pony. He can only hit you once, and his only option after that is to run away. Combine that with his nerfed health, yes, you heard that right. He now only has 225 health, making him the lowest HP character in the game. Bro, were these nerfs justified for Muriel players? In my opinion, I might get flamed for this. Yes, they were justified. He was very annoying last season, and every single match ended with the Muriel running away until the very end. He also had very high damage for a rapid character, so the combo nerf was fair. The health nerf was very unexpected, but overall, is he still a good character? I think so, yeah. He went from being a high tier character down to just a meh character. He's not bad now. You just have to work a little bit harder now than most characters. Following Muriel is Kendo. Kendo is an interesting character. She has the fastest movement speed in the game. Her alpha acts as a shotgun as it does more damage depending on how close enemies are. Her beta is a shield which can counter characters like Kirishima and Hawk's beta. But most abilities can instantly break her shields. I'm not completely sure which moves, but that is a possibility. She has the shield alpha tech that makes it so she lunges towards opponents faster. I personally can't do it as my fingers are not that fast. And we can't forget about her gamma clap, which can do massive damage at level 9. She is basically just a better Kirishima, but once again, she cannot properly keep up with people flying around, so that is why she is just a meh character as of right now. This is going to be a continuous theme throughout the video, as many characters who are grounded just cannot keep up with fast-paced characters. I want to be honest, I've only played Ibarra once, so I don't know much about her. That's why the gameplay being shown isn't mine and is from the Charismatic Demon. Check out his channel as it is in the description below. So from what I know, Ibarra can do a lot of damage with her beta and at max level. And her gamma hits people's health instead of shield, just like Shigaraki's gamma. Her beta and gamma have armor, which is huge to her, as it gives her more options for people to get off her. And her being a support character gives her special action the ability to recover down people, so that's also a big plus to her. All these would make her a high tier character, but sadly this season she is also easily overwhelmed when fighting alone. Ibarra excels in team-based combat as her alpha has very long range, so she's a distant demon. In right hands, she can be high tier, but she can be countered by characters zooming all over the place, as her alpha leaves her very stationary, so this leaves her very vulnerable. Maybe one of these days, I'll give her a chance and see what she can do. Following Ibarra, we have Froppy. Froppy was one of my most played characters back in Season 3. She was, in my opinion, the first rapid I enjoyed playing, just with her basic kit. Her alphas do good damage, and you don't have to level her up to level 9 to get her max amount of alphas, and that goes to her beta as well. Her gamma is just a way for her to get out of the situations more easily. She has easy combos like alpha, beta, beta, and for some reason her special action is a res, even though she's a rapid character. The reason she's this low is because she is solely a hit and run character. She can do great damage, not massive damage, and there are plenty of other characters who could do her job more effectively. And that also goes for regular characters of different classes such as Assault and Strike, not just Rapid. players may find it hard to land her alphas, but that's an issue most players can deal with. So that's why, in my opinion, she's the most fair rapid in the game as of right now. Next up on the tier list, we have Todoroki. Todoroki was once a character who was considered busted back in the first 3 seasons of My Hero Ultra Rumble. Man, do times change. His alpha used to be so much faster and did more damage. His beta was fine, but his gamma used to just kill you because of the amount of stun it had. He used to be able to one-tap people back in season 1 and 2 if you were caught in it. Nowadays, his alpha is slower and does great damage. His beta got massive buffs though, as now you can have 2 ice rolls that do a lot more damage. His eyesight can no longer kill, and is a more respectable move now. Special action is still horrible though. Overall, a solid character, and is very enjoyable to play and can still get the job done. But once again, in this season where people are flying around, he can have some difficulty catching up to people, but if you can manage all that, I think he can still get the job done, and then some. So yeah, pretty solid character. And finally, finishing up B tier, we have the Demon King himself, AFO. AFO on release was also a monster who could basically one-tap you if you got caught in this beta, because it did not hard knock down people, and combine that with your teammates beaming down people, it was just GG's. Combine that with his special action that lets him switch out quirks, and 400 HP, it was terrifying seeing him in lobbies. But since then, they've nerfed him pretty hard, understandably so. His beta can hard knock people now, so you don't get one tap. His alpha does less damage, and you can no longer instantly change quirks in succession. All these nerfs add up and has dropped his viability ever since. He can still be very good, but will take a lot more work. You can make an argument for him to be A tier, but in my opinion, he just barely misses out. Starting off A tier, these characters all have things that make them great, and have tools that make them very viable. We have Mount Lady starting us off. Mount Lady has fallen from grace from having 6 beta stomps to 3 beta stomps to now only being able to combo 1 beta stomp before opponents are forced into a hard knockdown, to doing massive damage with her alphas, to now only doing good damage with her alphas. And the thing that in my opinion hurt her the most this season was her health nerf from 350 HP all the way down to 300. This gives her special action, Gigantification, a bigger risk to use in bigger sets of play. Still win you games in the end game, but all these nerfs really did hurt her from being considered a top 10 character, which is just a great character. You can still get the job done. She still has very good mobility with her gamma, so at least she could still keep up in this rapid happy season. Following Mount Lady, we have Momo. Her alpha is a good keep off me option to take pressure off her. Her beta can cover herself with her shield and can run over people. The only downside is you can hit her in the back when she does this. The strongest ability in her arsenal has to be her cannons. She can lock down areas with her cannons, which can do massive damage. Her special action is good for restocking items, as she can respawn a res card if one of her teammates are down. She doesn't have mobility, but her whole arsenal is very support heavy, so if she stays close to her team, she can be deadly. She has the tools to help her stay in the game longer than most characters, so that is why she's an easy A tier in my opinion. Next up, we have Compress. I'm not good at Compress, so I'm gonna have Trash Junkies take it away from here and show you his gameplay to demonstrate how to play him correctly. Compress with no levels is definitely hard to play, but once he gets to level 7 and has access to his trucks, this is when he feels like a very strong character. It can stun people in place if aimed correctly and can do massive damage. Beta is a shield that can reflect projectiles back to opponents, and Gamma is his teleport, and at level 9 he has access to 2 of these teleports. The special action grants him to res his teammates by pocketing them. Combine this with his teleport, he can heal his team safely The reason he isn't higher is because moving to level 7 early kind of hurts him as a character in the early game. But other than that, he can still be deadly. Following Compress is Aizawa. Aizawa used to be the worst character in the game on release day, but as he gradually got more and more fixes, he is now very good. Alpha snatches enemies and pulls them towards you. This leaves them stunned for about a second, and you can follow it up with basically any of his melees or special attacks. His beta is his kick, which grants him more movement and decent damage. His main damage option is his gamma, which is an attack that covers him with a scarf and can block projectiles while it's active. Does heavy damage to opponents as well. His special action can be very useful as it cancels all enemy quirks as long as they are in his area of view. Overall, a very strong character, but he takes a lot of skill to achieve his full potential. Next up, we have Endeavor. Endeavor used to do so much damage. His alpha was really strong and could risk shields even at low levels. Nowadays, he can still do good damage, but is nowhere near as strong as he once was. His beta has very long range and can be thrown at walls to block paths, giving it a good use to take pressure off him. His gamma used to be the strongest move in the game last season, as it used to be all health and shields at level 9. Now, it's just a good move that can go through walls. His special action feels too stiff and runs out too quickly in my opinion. He does suffer by having a huge hitbox on himself, so that can make him a big target. Still a strong character in my opinion, and that's why he should be A tier. Finishing off this tier, we have Tech Shoto. I don't personally have Tech Shoto, but I faced him a few times in that match, and he has way more options than Strike Totem. His alpha is bigger and can freeze enemies if they stand right in front of him when he shoots his alpha. His beta is his strongest move, as it places an iceberg in front of him and grows each time he levels up. He can also make this iceberg explode, causing a huge AoE that hits anyone in its radius. His gamma places fire around him and blocks any projectiles. Really good at finishing people off quickly with this move. Overall, has many options and can be a nuisance to fight. Argument can be made for A+, but having no movement option makes him just a good character for now. Now we are getting to the characters that can solo people and are considered really good, but don't have abilities that are very broken to be considered high tier. And to start it off, we have Denki. Since Denki got a buff that made it so he has 2 gammas now, he has really solidified himself as a high damage menace. His alpha is really fast and does high damage. His beta is an AoE of electricity that surrounds him and does really high damage. Combine that with his gamma that makes him charge into people and stuns. He is really deadly if you stay too close to him. He is the definition of a strike character. High damage and gives off fear because of his stun potential. Because of this, he is very strong. His only downsides are that he has no armor on moves and can use some more mobility. Overall, really fun and really strong. Next up, we have Rapid Bakugo. Rapid Bakugo is probably top 3 most annoying characters to fight in this game. His alpha does good damage for a rapid, but what really makes him annoying is his ability to stay in the air. He only has 250 HP, but because he is always moving, that doesn't even matter. Beta gives him way too much mobility and is almost impossible to dodge. It can also combo into his gamma for devastating damage. His gamma plummets him to the ground, causing a big explosion and does insane damage. Oh yeah, he has 2 of these now. He's always moving and can be impossible to keep up with. If he had more health, he would definitely be top tier. There's no reason why you would choose Strike Bakugo over this guy. Please nerf him, please. Next up, we have another rapid, Ida. Ida's whole character is going fast. He can combo his alpha for good damage. His beta has insane tracking and does heavy damage. What makes him very strong is his gamma though, as it gives him a huge speed boost. This makes him a nuisance to fight one-on-one and makes him even more unpredictable in team fights. Yes, after his charge is used, he is basically stuck in place, but it only leaves him in this state for about 4 seconds. His special action also allows him to carry down allies to rest, so that's also a big plus to him. He can close gaps pretty fast, so him not having any projectiles isn't really an issue to him. Does he need a nerf? Yeah, nerf his beta tracking a little, and his gamma speed boost please. Next we have my main, Overhaul. Overhaul has really good alpha damage and for an early game character. His beta does a lot of damage and has far range, also his fastest way to finish people off, and his gamma that shoots out a grounded wave that stuns enemies in place, allowing him to follow up with an alpha or melee. He also gets 2 of these at level 4 and does heavy damage at level 9, but his special action may be one of the best in the game. If he's grabbed or very close to enemies, he can use his special action to push enemies away from him, essentially making it so you can't pressure him anymore. Another use it has is the ability to completely heal his health and gives him half his shields back. He can also fully recover his teammates' HP and shields. If you are near him, crazy ability for real. If he had more mobility and his gamma could go up walls like Strike Shiggy, he would definitely be a top 5 character in the game. Though Shiggy, in my opinion, has aged really well. His alpha does a lot of damage and has a splash effect so you don't have to hit your shots. Very fun. His beta leaves a pool of decay that can stick anywhere and can stun for about a second. His gamma gives him mobility, so he's already much better than Strike Shiggy. Also, anytime you are close to him, your health takes damage from the decay. Yes, so he's doing even more damage now. He is definitely one of the strongest assault characters in the game right now. Nerf his damage a little please. Following Assault Shiggy is Strike Dobby. A lot of people have claimed he is top tier, but I feel he is a one-trick pony. His alpha can let him hover a little and can only hit grounded enemies. If you charge it, it is really similar to Assault Shiggy. His beta is his strongest attack as it lets him grab enemies and does massive damage. At high levels you can take shields with this. It also has auto tracking, so try avoiding it if you can. His gamma is similar to Ida, as it gives him a speed and attack increase. It also gives him a small fire shield every few seconds. Combine this with his beta and he can eliminate rapids with this combo. When his gamma timer runs out, he can also explode, shooting out an AoE of flame that can do ginormous damage. The problem is, when he runs out of betas, he becomes rather useless, having to rely on his alpha for damage. His gamma does take away his health, but that can be easily negated with green cards. If you combine Strike Dobby with an instant res character, he can fight with his heart's content. If he wasn't so beta reliant, I do believe he would be top tier. Nerf his damage please, he just keeps hugging my shields away. Next we have the symbol of peace, All Might. All Might has really stayed the same his whole tenure in the game. His alpha does great damage and can do slash damage at higher levels. His beta has armor as he charges towards people. He can still combo beta into a few alphas for a true combo. And his tornado is a good escape option as it leaves him invincible from projectiles and physical attacks. He can also carry down allies to carry and res to safety. It also has the ability to let him leap away to get out of situations. As an assault character, he has really good mobility and damage. He is a true definition of having good fundamentals when used correctly. He isn't broken in my opinion, he just does his role really well and will probably continue to be this way. Next up we have my favorite female character, Ochako. Ochako has been from low tier, top tier, low tier, and now high tier again. She has good movement and has 300 HP as a rapid. Her alpha makes her Spider-Man as it grants her the ability to pull herself to surfaces as long as she's in the air. She can also cling on to enemies and does good damage overall. Her beta got a buff, making it so she gets her spinning cart at level 7 rather than level 9. It has so many uses as it can be thrown and has a very large hitbox for hitting people around her, and does really high damage. Her gamma is a circle that grants her the ability to lift up enemies and leaving them immobile for 3 seconds. She can follow it up with an alpha and then a beta for massive damage. Her special action makes her light, so she is even more faster and keep up pressure in this way. To make her truly shine, you need to land your gammas to create these combo opportunities, or you could just beta away, your choice. She is also a nuisance with a team, as if you're caught in her gamma, her teammates can also punish you while you're stuck. Overall, nerf her health back to 250 and nerf her damage to make her more balanced. Please and thank you. And our final character in this tier is Present Mike. Present Mike has very high damage potential. His alpha is a shout that acts as a projectile and has far range. His beta has 2 uses. You can hold it to create a shockwave with his shout for a lot of damage, or you can tap it to stun and death your enemies. After you stun, you can combo into a gamma, which is his DJ punch, which does a massive amount of damage. He can instantly deplete your shield because of this. And what truly makes him crazy is his boombox. His special action lets him throw out a boombox and amplifies his alpha and beta damage with even more damage. Add this all up and he can solo team on his own. He is definitely one of the most fun characters in the game. As of right now, he could use a damage nerf, but with the next characters in the higher tier, I don't think it really matters as of right now. Now we have the top tiers. These characters are undeniably broken and should receive heavy nerfs to even make them balanced. First off, we have Cementos. He is easily the best support character in the game. His alpha lets him crank up with cement to gain high ground, and he can also throw it at enemies for really good damage. He can close off areas with his alpha to cover himself, or just crank away to heal or get better positioning. His gamma is a cement floor that when it hits an enemy, does massive damage, and if timed right, can combo into an alpha to break shields. Combine his alpha with his gamma and you can have a sky base to snipe people in the air. His beta is his only weak ability, as it only creates cement walls. His special action, if you didn't know, is an instant res, since he is a support character. He can overwhelm teams all on his own and can control any place, anytime, just on his own. To balance him, you need to redevelop his damage. He does way too much for a support based character, and give him more heavy cooldowns so he doesn't just spam alphas all over the place. Next up on the list, we have Tech Toga. She has stayed the same throughout the game's life cycle. Her alpha knives have very far range and do pretty underrated damage. Her beta knife rush has been nerfed so it doesn't break shields anymore, but it's still a very strong move with high mobility. Her gamma got shadow nerfed so the tracking isn't as good, but still does really insane damage. Her main issue is her special action. If your gamma lands, you get to take people's blood and can transform into them. The main issue to this is if she de-transforms, her ability cooldowns are reset. This basically means she can continuously take blood, keep transforming and de-transforming to keep up pressure. When she's transformed, she also takes special action, so she can milk overhaul so she never dies. She can also take a support character and res her teammates. She can basically do it all just with her special action. To nerf her, just make it so she doesn't reset her cooldown, so she can continuously milk characters. Next up, we have Twice. Twice on release was a little underwhelming. His knives did okay damage, his clone was really buggy and sometimes didn't attack, and his gamma was just a movement option. Well, since then, he's been heavily buffed. His knives got buffed, his clone got fixed, but the thing that truly made him broken was his gamma buff. It now auto tracks to enemies and stuns them. This means you can combo gamma into anything. So now you can combo gamma into beta clone to do massive damage and lets you freely put clone to apply pressure. Or you can play brain dead and just spam gamma into a continuous loop of health. If Twice never got a gamma buff, he would be nowhere near the top, but just with this one move, he is carried all the way to the top. We haven't even mentioned his special action that makes knockdown enemies into clones, so you can essentially make a sad man's parade. Twice is essentially broken in solo mode, as you can just make a clone army to sweep lobbies if you wanted to. If you want to nerf Twice, take away his auto tracking gamma. Without this, he essentially loses almost all his value. Next, we have the best strike character in the game, Strike Deku. Strike Deku was in the same boat as Twice, as he was rather weak at launch, his alpha being mediocre in damage, his beta stomp having no armor and doing underwhelming damage, and size, as it was hard to get his full shockwave effect. His Gamma was also a sad comparison to the then Assault Deku in movement. It was a sad wall that gave him little to no horizontal or vertical movement, and you only got 2 at level 4. Then the dev said screw it and made him OP. They buffed his alpha to an insane degree, as level 9 alpha does 110 per charge star. Yes, 110. He can 2-tap shields now, his beta got a damage buff, and it's now easier to get the full shockwave effect. Gamma got a huge buff in mobility, and now he starts off with 2 gammas. His movement is crazy now, and his Gamma does even more damage now, and he still keeps his res special action. This character's damage is insane now. What were you guys thinking? Nerf his damage right now. WTH. The next character on the list is Rapid Toga. Rapid Toga is essentially Tech Toga at full power. Her alpha does insane damage compared to Tech Toga's knives, and now acts as a boomerang. Crazy. Her beta is just unfair, as it shoots out a pair of needles and does massive damage for what? It also flings her back so she can run away. If you get hit with both of these betas, you basically lose all your shields. I'm not even kidding. Her Gamma gives her an Ochako alpha, but she doesn't need to aim at walls or structures. That's too much work. She can just face the sky and fly away. You can aim her Gamma at enemies to take blood, and you can hold it to instantly transform into that enemy. Oh yeah, she keeps her transformation cooldown bug. How fun. She is obviously way overtuned, as she hits like a strike character even though she's a rapid. What were they thinking when they designed this character? Now for the last character on our tier list, Hawks. You know what? He doesn't even deserve a spot with these S tier characters. He needs his own spot on this tier list. Hawks. There isn't much I need to say, as everyone who's played My Hero Ultra Rumble knows what he can do. He has an auto tracking alpha that does a lot of damage. He has his instant win beta button, which if you get hit by, you basically lose everything, shields, health, everything. He has a Gamma that acts as a projectile and can scan enemies to know their location at all times. And his special action. What were they thinking? I understand adding a character with a lot of mobility, but really? It must have been a joke to add this move in the game. You can traverse the whole map with just his special action and beta. I'm not even going to show gameplay because everyone already knows and they're sick of seeing this. Hopefully, we gotta pray when Season 8 arrives, Hawks is nerfed. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys agree with my tier list. Let me know in the comments any questions you have. Let me know what you guys think, and remember, this is all just my opinion. You don't have to agree. I just wanted to share my opinions on this season. Hopefully they nerf many characters so this game can become playable again. See you guys next time in Season 8. Hope you guys will enjoy next season more than this season. Peace.